Sound devices are used to make the content easy to recite, memorize, and quote. The translator should pay attention to the function of these features in either language to see whether to retain such devices like alliteration, assonance, rhyme in the target text or not. Sometimes the purpose is achieved by using normal words or by a clever choice of words that contain alliteration, assonance, or rhyme. Alliteration, assonance, and rhyme, and also onomatopoeia, are devices that help us make phrases, as in headlines and slogans, eye-catching and easy to remember. This makes such phrases or sentences perceivable even by the non-native speakers of the target language. Alliteration and assonance. Alliteration is the use of the same consonant at the beginning of each stressed syllable. The same definition applies to assonance with a little change, that in assonance we only consider the repetition of vowels. This is a phonological device employed to enhance memorability and quotability. Alliteration is also commonly used in book titles to make them more eye-catching and appealing to the ear. Look at this book title, Fire and Fury. The author skillfully used alliteration for the same reason we have just mentioned. However, the translated version overlooked this important feature. Although it's hard to find a similar form for this phrase in Arabic, but we can still think of another sound device that is more commonly used in Arabic in general, that's rhyme. Here we can translate it as al-lahab wal-ghadab. However, sound features are very hard to maintain without any kind of loss. For instance, Kathy Reichs employed the sound devices and played skillfully with the words in her selected title of the novel, Monday Morning. The word mourning is an expression of sorrow for one's death. It both describes the horrific incidents of discovering remains of 3 young women in the early hours of Monday. It's very hard to find a similar word in Arabic that can give the same phonetic function for mourning, an expression of sorrow, and mourning. Therefore, the translator used a metaphor instead, al-ithnayn al-aswad, using the color black, that's closely related to mourning. In literary translation, translators should do their best to retain the sounds of the source language and reproduce the same effects in the target language while maintaining the original meaning. Now we can move to onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a type of word that sounds like the object it describes. For example, the word bang that copies the sound produced through explosion or firing. Although onomatopoeic words imitate the sounds of nature, we might find the sound differs from one language to another. With onomatopoeic words which do not have equivalent in the target language, the translator can give the meaning stripped of any sound consideration. Let's have a look at the following passage from Al-Kharrat's novel, ترابها زعفران. Look at the underlined words. تترجرج، وشوشة، تترقرق، زقزقة. The underlined words are translated as rippling, hiss, chatter. We can notice how smooth and pleasing to the ear the underlined Arabic words and their English equivalents. But this doesn't work all the time. Rhyme. Rhyme. People are more inclined to remember phrases that rhyme than unrhymed phrases, as in aphorisms and proverbs. Human brains remember rhyme, alliteration, assonance, and other devices. The ease of pronouncing the phrase influences how long that phrase will last in people's mind. So this is an effective device in literary works, especially poetry. For instance, the following lines by Tagore, the winner of Nobel Prize in Literature for 1913, may be easy to understand and rendered into Arabic, but the word choice and the use of comparable figures of speech that could be as appealing to the target readers could differ from one person to another. I traveled miles for many a year, spent riches and lands afar. I've gone to see the mountains, the oceans I've been to view, but I haven't seen with these eyes what 2 steps from my home lies, on a sheaf of paddy grains, a glistening drop of dew. These few lines are translated differently by me and by Rahma Abdul Rahim. أمضيت سنينا مرتحلا وأنفقت من المال جزلا عاينت جبالا وجبالا ورأيت من البحر الجالا وعميت عن سحر حولي بهاء جلاه ندى السنبل. This is not as elegant as the version translated by Rahma Abdul Rahim, who is more interested in translating poetry. قطعت سنينا دروب السفر قضيت بعيدا فصول العمر ففيها مضيت لأرقى جبالا وفيها مرارا عبرت البحر وقلبت طرفي ليهنى مليا وعما جواري عميت النظر وأهملت قربي حقول جمال بها قد تندى لذيذ الثمر. You can notice that one of the common features in the above translated poems is the use of rhyme, which could seemingly be considered the most characteristic aspect of Arabic poetry.